Okay, hi. I think I did it. I think I put the music on. I think I turned the music off. It's me. Hi, it's me, Kirk Wallace. Welcome to Collabie. This is my first time streaming, so I'm nervous, but it'll be fine. I've done a bunch of streaming with other people alongside of me, and that will be the future of this show. But in the meantime, it's just me alone in the studio, and it feels a little bit like I'm just staring at 15,000 versions of my face on my computer in front of me. So bear with me while we get through it. Hi, everybody in chat. So I've got a little presentation that's going to walk us through like what we're doing today with Collabie and what the whole kind of purpose of the show is. And then I'm going to also open up some files and talk through some projects and stuff like that. It's going to be fun, simple, low key, and sort of the whole point of the stream is just to hopefully educate and meet new people, collaborate with new artists and stuff like that. So got to keep the show rolling, got to keep the show going. Can't take a single second to stop talking. No dead air. Promise you that. I've got a cute little loop deck here that I can switch between my scenes on. Hopefully it ends up working. We'll see. If it doesn't, it's going to be a long hour by myself staring at myself. So, like I said, I put together a quick little presentation to kind of talk about what the future of Collabie is going to be like, and I will switch to my screen. The other thing is, the whole show is called Collabie, and but the first episode is I don't have a collaborator yet because running a stream is stressful. So today I don't have a collaborator, but I kind of low-key do because I've got, let's see if I can switch. I have Scully with me always, all the time, and he'll always be my forever collaborator. So if in doubt, I can switch over to Scully, but he's very shy today. I also have a double whammy shot of Scully and I together if we want to have a conversation. These are going to be all the scenes that I end up using for the other people when they come on the show in 2 weeks. So, but in the meantime, let's jump to my screen. And like I said, I've got a little bit of a presentation. It's pretty, it's not going to be boring and dry. I promise, this whole show isn't going to be boring and dry, but I'll start with what is Collabie. So I started, I had all these, crazy ideas of, I had this thing, collaborative kaleidoscope and all these weird names for the show. And when Adobe reached out and basically asked me to pitch a concept for a show, I didn't want to do a show that was all about myself because it's just, there's too much of that in the world. And I didn't want it to just be simply a podcast where I'm talking to somebody. I wanted to find an excuse to make art with people that I admire. And I know that for me, I've always been a huge fan of talking about collaboration, how important it's been to me in my whole career so far. So I'll get into me in a second, but Collabie is just, well, okay. Also, I want to back up and basically, I don't like surprises. They stress me out, and I want to know where I'm going. And I feel like if they did this more in school, things would have been a lot better for me of what are we doing today and what can I look forward to? So we're going to go through what is Collabie. We're going to have an outline for today, which is what this is right here. And then we're going to introduce the show. We're going to talk about some goals and some lessons of the show and the goals and lessons of collaboration overall. And we're going to talk about different types of collaboration because it's not all about hiring somebody and working directly with somebody. There's a million different ways that we can do it. And then we're going to dig into some collabs. That's going to be the core chunk of it is this bit here is opening up some files, talking about some cool collaborations that I've done with different friends. And then the big tease is, who am I going to be collaborating with in the future on the next episode? So what is Collabie is next. Let's move. It's me and a guest artist every episode, which is going to be every other week for a while, where I find somebody that I admire, that I hopefully haven't worked with a ton yet, and it's an excuse for me to get to know a new friend and work with them, probably somebody that I've been wanting to work with for years, but we just haven't really found the time to do so. So that's going to be my excuse is basically make Adobe force me to make friends and make art and then talk about that and share that experience with everybody. New friend each week, make something offline. So the format's going to be that the artist and I make something offline, something silly, something cute and goofy. Then we bring it onto the stream and we talk about that entire situation, and we will dig through how we did it, and we'll also make some of the stuff live in the moment as well, which will be fun because it'll leave lots of room for error and mistakes and weird, silly, goofy banter. Yeah, we'll have fun and we'll giggle. Next, as according to our table of contents, is about me. I'm going to go ahead and assume you know nothing about me, but I'm also going to try to be super brief with this because I don't want it to be any sort of a lecture. But my name is Kirk Wallace. I run a studio called Bonehouse, and I've worked with a bunch of clients. I'm mostly a commercial illustrator and animator. I work a lot in animation. I'm not the best animator, but I collaborate with a lot of animators. This is my studio space that I'm working out of. It's an old converted barn up in Maine, and that's that. I like taking complex things and making them simple. I like to make characters. I don't draw super duper well, so I focus on flat shapes and stuff like that. I'll fire through some of my work, but you can find this online later as well. But just so that you know who is talking to you today, it's stuff like this. Most of these were animated in some capacities. I wanted to show the range of like icons, t-shirt designs, really simple complex things, but I can build them up and make them, or really simple non-complex things can be built up and make complex art. I'm all about finding the essence, changing the details. So taking something that's familiar, breaking it down, building it back up, and trying to give the viewer as little as possible with it. Same thing here. Ultimately, I like to do the boring things and make them fun. And this is a little bit of my process, and we'll deal with more of that later on. Cool. I'm 7 minutes in, and I'm feeling like I'm gunning for the finish line, and I'm going to try to slow down a little bit and try to chill out so that you don't get stressed out from my stress. But I've got lessons of the day. Again, we're just in the overview part yet, so let's just all relax. We're not almost over. We're just having a good time. Lessons of the day is that collaborations are good and that it can look different than you think. I think a lot of people, at least for me, I thought collaboration, for a long time, I thought collaboration was a pain in the neck because when I was growing up younger, I was like kind of good at drawing. So people would come to me and be like, oh, you should draw my cousin, or you should, and it just like, that wasn't collaboration. That was like me having to do things for people. And so I want to teach that like collaboration can look different. And collaboration can be like texting your friends and being like, hey, does this look good or not? Or collaboration can be daily meetings with friends to be like, am I doing okay? And just holding each other like accountable for mental health. But ultimately, this brings me to like my history lesson. And again, for anyone just tuning in, this is a prelude to the next episode. This is sort of my inaugural episode that is just going to talk about the show as a whole. So collaboration's good. We love collaboration. And for me, it started when I got on a website called Dribble in like 2012 or something. And a friend of mine, now a friend of mine, but then a stranger named Latham, reached out. And I just pulled the screenshot a minute ago, and I kind of got emotional because Latham and I have now, like, he's from New Zealand, I'm from the United States. We've made a lot of trips together. We've hung out many times. We've done lots of work together. We've made lots of money together. We've built our businesses separately but together. And it was cool. I was texting him just a minute ago, and he was asking, like, where did you think you were going to be 10 years ago, like today? And I was like, I didn't think I'd have a career in illustration. I didn't think I'd have a career in animation. I didn't think I'd have any of those types of things going on. But here I am. And I was like, and I hope that feels the same for you too. And he was like, yeah, man, you helped me grow not only as an artist, but also as a person. And like, that was just basically from this message down here. Latham reached out, and hopefully everybody can read it. But if not, it says, hey, Mr. Wallace, just wondering if I'd be able to animate this because it's super awesome. And I said, hell yeah, dude, add me on Skype. Thanks for the kind words. And what we made was, I'll switch over to my browser, but I pulled it up. So this was the thing, this was the comment, was I was just drawing this, like, I was trying to figure out textures. I was like brand new to art and visual art overall. Also, if there's like questions or whatever, feel free to leave them in the chat. I've got my eye on it, so totally feel free to quote interrupt me. I'm also gonna try not to like get too distracted by it, but like I would love to see if you have questions about anything in my career. Open book, totally open book. So I'm just like trying to figure out textures because I'm brand new to digital art at this moment, and Dribble was still like a very like feedback driven platform. And I think I'm saying like, hey, I'm looking for feedback on like which one do you think is the best. And now that I'm seeing it, I'm like, wow, this is like such minor differences. Why did I leave this decision up to anybody else? There's no decision to be made. But this is where Latham reached out and was like, hey, I'd love to do this thing. I had no view of this piece being animated, period. Like, I just thought this was a flat, still image that had some cool shapes. And what Latham came back with was this, this was back when we were uploading 400 by 300 size pixel GIFs to Dribble, so it's small, but again, this is 10 years ago. And I had my mind blown that Latham did this. I had no, like, to me, he was Walt Disney or whatever, like animating and putting life into this knife and this pepper that previously I had no interest in putting there. Like, that wasn't what I had in mind. I'm just going to pull up my screen so I can see what I'm talking about. So he blew my mind. And this was a collaboration that was not planned. And from here on, I was like, holy Toledo, how else can I collaborate with people? And admittedly, it was a little selfish because I was like, I just make something and then somebody animates it. Obviously, that started going much more back and forth when getting into that. But we're in the history of my collaboration. And yeah, I'm very impressed at this point. And I'm like, what else can we do? And so Latham and I kept making things and making things and making things until we started getting hired to make more things. And this is a picture of Latham and our mutual friend, Oliver Sin, who's another amazing animator, out in London a year, maybe 13 months ago or so, last like October. And it was the first time that Oliver and I got to meet in person, but it was probably my fourth or fifth time seeing Latham. And Oliver and I have collaborated and worked on things, and we hire each other, and it's really fantastic and really special. So from then on, like, my genesis for collaboration is like, all right, this is sick. Let's just keep doing this forever. And I start collaborating with other animators, other designers, and things like that. And we're getting hired to do this. And that kind of brings me into my other Genesis collaborative story that I like would be so remiss not to mention, of Richie Stewart, who's a identity designer, graphic designer, logo designer, and he helped brand Bonehouse, which is my studio moniker. And taking the idea of the Bauhaus German school of design of multidisciplinary, bringing lots of different types of people under one roof and like seeing what happens, and it's really cool. I love the idea of like having a bunch of different friends that I could work with to be able to combat most any project. So I liked Bonehouse and I liked Skeletons, and most ultimately Richie like made Scully in this very flat, beautiful format, which is a neon sign behind me now. And I pushed Scully really far, and we've seen where Scully can go, where now Scully has been like a wooden toy. He's been animated a million times. He's been like so many different things, all thanks to Richie. Whoops, wrong button. So that was my next collaboration that is like in my historical timeline that I've got. And there's a million more, and I'm going to talk about some of them in much more depth, which is like chapter 7 or whatever of this thing. But so what does collaboration look like? Collaboration is not just working for paid projects. It's hanging out with your friends. It's making community. It's having a Discord channel. For me, like more than anything lately, I am collaborating through text message more than anything, just like sending people things like, hey, is this good? Am I crazy? Is this looking all right? What do you think? But also like I have weekly meetings with friends. We just like check in on one another and try to hold each other accountable. Like freelancing is really scary. So we're often talking to each other about like, is this a good idea? Should I be pursuing this? Should I not? Am I Okay. Do you know how to do taxes? Do you have health insurance? How much is your health insurance? We just talk about those things. And to me, that's collaboration. Supporting each other, accountability, texting your friends, not working in silos. I think that's really the vibe. Um, my friend Josh in the chat says he loves hanging out with friends. And honestly, Josh, I think everybody loves hanging out with friends. So collaborate more with your friends. Josh and I have a weekly call generally to just hold each other in insanity. Let's go back up to my thing to see where I'm at. History, types of collaboration. So here's the chunk of it. I'm going to spend a half hour or so basically digging in some collaborations that I've done in the past that are really cool. I think they'll be fun to look at. So we talked about the knife and pepper. And then what Latham and I did after that was not after that, but it technically after that, but much later. We did this little animation, and I'll keep the volume low, hopefully. I don't even know. I think it'll play. But we were playing this game called Rocket League that we really loved. And I had this vision where I'm like, dude, if we just draw like some fan art of Rocket League, they'll see it and then they'll hire us. There's no question about that. And it didn't work at first. But I made just like some key artwork. I made like 4 or 5 different frames, and then Latham animated everything in between that. And 7 years went by and nothing came of it. But then eventually, finally, 7 years later, one of the creative directors at Intel reached out and was like, hey, we saw that piece of fan art you did. We'd like to hire you to do something for Rocket League. So here's where I'm going to try to slow down a little bit and just talk about the nitty gritty of the project and like the way that Latham and I collaborated. And I also collaborated with my friend Jeff Guerra on sound design. And that was a small team, and sometimes teams are bigger and smaller, but I'll play this because why not? I don't think there's sound to this one though. So I'll talk over it. And it's like, vroom, 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 wow, splash, whoa, my gosh. The idea was just like this collegiate league of Rocket League. So anyone that doesn't know, Rocket League is this like game where you're cars, but you play soccer and you hit the ball with your car, and you can fly as well. And they had a collegiate league of like esports, and they were kind of like, do your thing, like have fun with it. And I loved this idea of this car being late for school and having to like hurry up, grab his backpack, because in the game you can collect hats and stuff and like outfit your car. And I like this idea of like oftentimes friends are like sitting in the lobby too long, like choosing the right or wrong hat, and it's like, hurry up, let's just play the game. So I like this idea of this like college student car wasting time choosing their outfit and then having to hurry and get to the school. And then as you're driving past, you're seeing all these different like school landmarks as you go. And I've got the file opened up too, because it's like, it looks pretty now. Oh, and it was inspired by this, an extremely goofy movie. There's a lot of stuff I took from it. But it started as just like a really rough, bad, like I'm not great at drawing, like at all. And I don't say that in the coy, cutesy way that I'm like looking for, I'm like, no, I don't draw super good. But I've got Latham with me, and he and I are going to do this together, and he knows what he's doing. And so, but at the same time, the magic thing is like, he thinks I know what I'm doing. So together, we kind of know what we're doing. And so I sketch out this thing, and at parts where I'm getting scared, I'm like tracing certain things. I'm getting stressed out that it's not going to be good enough. And then let's open up Illustrator and see if we can get into that file. Yeah. So I thought this would be fun just for everyone to see. You just saw the storyboard, but I'm like drawing things out like this and just like piecing it together and grouping it. So I'm in Adobe Illustrator now, which I'm sure most of you are kind of familiar with, but I'm in like no particular order figuring this out. And at this point, this is less about collaboration, hopefully, in this lesson but more just like showing you that you can make a really cool polished thing and have no real idea what you're doing, which is basically what the case is here. Of like, I genuinely don't think I went in order. I think I was just like jumping around to the things that were inspiring me. And I would like draw the building separately and then drag them in because it was too stressful for me to be drawing them in their context because I didn't understand how to draw like foreground and background so well. So I would just like I knew I could draw things. So I'd like draw this one from like Miami University or something. Who knows? I feel like this one might have been Ohio. Um, and I would draw them singularly because I could do that, and then I would sort of start bashing them together and hoping for the best. And I just remember in the collaborative phase and stage at one point just being like, there's no way this is like I hope Latham knows what he's doing because this is not this is I have no idea how this is going to turn into like an animated thing. Like I had the storyboard, we had the animatic. I've done it before. I'm not a total fool, but I'm just like, where are the transitions going to happen? I don't really know. And so I hopped on a call with Latham and I was like, yo, what are we doing here? And we worked it out together, and he came up with a lot of really great ideas of like, well, let's grab some foreground elements and put them way in front because that will be a great way for us to make a transition so we can basically smear the whole frame, cover it up, and then that's how we can get from like one area of the school to another without cutting to black, blah, blah, blah. And these are kind of animation 101 basics, so some people watching might be like, well, yeah, no shit. But for me, it was helpful just to have a friend to work on this with. Not to mention just laying down the keyframes and animation would have been impossible for me, but even just to collaborate on these types of things. And then on the other end of that too, there were moments where Latham was asking me for feedback on animation of like, how do you think, and I'm like, dude, I don't know enough about like the terms. Like you guys say squash and stretch a lot, and like, I don't know. And he said something that was really impactful to me that was like, I know that you're not technically like the best animator, but you have a really good vision for it and a really good eye for it. So like you can just record a video of you like with your hand going like, and like that will help me because you have a really good sense of motion. And I was so like heartfelt. I felt like he made me feel really proud of myself that like he was like, you're a really good animator. You just don't like know the buttons that well. And he was like, you make my animations better. And that felt really nice because I felt like he made my artwork better. And again, that's like the core of collaboration to me, is that it's not like the sum of the parts, but it's this sort of like explosion and this exponential increase that happens when you put 2 or 3 or 4 or 100 minds together. That to me is what collaboration is really all about. So hopefully the clicking isn't too loud for you. Hopefully it's just giving an ASMR vibe. So there's that project. That was really neat. And then I'll dig back through and see if there's any other cool lessons in it. But I think that's generally it on that one. And if you have questions around like, the file or whatever, we can dig in. I can show you more about how I made it. But this whole case study is on my site and kind of fun to check out. But that is collaboration number 1. And again, I feel self-conscious around it. Like this show is called Collabie. It's about collaboration. Second episode is going to be bringing in a collaborator, and we're going to work on something together live. It's going to be really fun. But this one, I just want to introduce the topic of the show. So let me go back to my agenda so I can remember what I'm doing. And I have it on another screen so you can't see how unorganized I really am. Oh, yeah, next one is a cool one. So my other collaboration that I am a big fan of lately is, so this one is kind of like I led it and it was my project and it felt nice in that regard. Sometimes I work on projects that I'm not in charge of, which is really nice. And this is a friend of mine named Adam Danielson, who's an identity designer. And he works on a lot of brands. So this was a brand called Ripple, which was a physical therapy office in Boston. And he got I'm going to put him on blast a little bit, I suppose, here, but he got the project to like, the gym was opening a new facility. And Adam was like, yeah, I can totally help you design the space. And then he immediately called me and he's like, dude, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, how are we going to design this space? And he was like, you have a really nice studio. Like, you must know how to do interior design, right? I'm like, yeah, sure, of course. Like, we'll figure it out. You just buy expensive things and hope for the best. And so he put together the space, and I came in a lot in the murals obviously, but also just like some of the interior stuff, and we worked together on it really nicely. And talk about a multiplication of the minds. Like this was something. So this was it before. It was just a building in Boston, and then we turned it into this, and we built a lot of the furniture, and we painted a lot of the walls. We specced out all of the detail. I can't point at things because I'll do this, but we went like souvenir shopping at like used junk sales and just like got everything super dialed, and it was so fun. And I thought I'd run you through some of the process of that as a mini in between before I get to like the penultimate project that I'm really excited about talking. But yeah, I did a lot of the murals, but Adam directed a lot of them, and he told me kind of what to draw. And as a result, it felt very painless. Like he knew exactly what to bring out of me to make something that was cool and interesting. Whereas otherwise, I would have been frozen. He had a really good direction and directive, and we came up with this concept of these like goofy, like sort of cosmic creature characters that were reaching new heights and stuff. And this was their treatment facility where they did a lot of massage and needling. And so I had this guy like, or this kind of gender ambiguous character with a pom pom hair, reaching over, and as they reached, they were like feeling the cosmic stretch. And we did a whole bunch of other stuff. We did. Oh, here's some cowgirls. What the heck? I want to see my GIF. Oh, continue watching. No, I don't want to do that. No. Anyway, that was us painting the mural. We made this cool pegboard for all their merch. Here's Adam. What a hunk. Posing for a photo. And that was that. A lot of process. We laser etched these cool basketball hoops. We bought a bunch of stuff and painted it green or teal. We went to this like teal wall where everything was teal. Hung up lights. Hung up all the cling stickers on the windows. Like we were knocking down wall. We painted these lockers like 7 times, and it was so cold. And then we worked with this videographer and photographer named Chris M. Shane, who's a really fantastic video and photographer. We did a little documentary, or like a kind of video talking about Ripple and what they do. Anyway, it was very cool, and it was like, there's no way I would have been able to do this project on my own ever. But for us to do it together, it was a huge thing. Kate asked the question, did you make your murals in Illustrator before you painted them on the walls? Yes, totally, and we didn't even paint them on the walls. Some of these we did, like these we painted on the walls, and we made them in Illustrator, but we basically made like vinyl versions of them and then hung them, and hung the negative, and then like ripped, and then would paint over the negative and then pull them off. And then like the proper murals were just printed like sticky vinyl wallpaper, and then we would just cling them up. Okay, so there's that. We're halfway through the stream. We're making it. The third and potentially final project that I want to talk about collaboration on is the Scully wooden toy. And I've got him here. And for anyone that doesn't know, which is hopefully everybody watching, I made these wooden toys a while back of Scully, who we've talked about, who is right here, all over the studio. And talk about not knowing what I'm doing. So this project was heaps of fun, and there's a bunch of different collaborations that happened. So first of all, like I didn't know how to use tools, so I collaborated with my friend Jeff, and we worked on tool stuff. I worked with my friend Nick Fairbanks, who is an incredible like all-around artist. We worked on a stop motion part, which I'm going to talk a lot about, which is going to be really neat. The packaging got printed by my friends Lucky House out in Salem, Massachusetts. Wouldn't have happened without them. Sound design. Latham did some animation for it. Like, it was a project of collaboration. So, and it was really sweet. And it was a collaboration of like heart and soul too, of me like being really nervous and being like, I don't think this is going to work, and friends all coming together and really enjoying it. So here's some of the process of that. Yeah, never used a sander before doing this. Never used hardly used the drill. Also didn't go to school for art, so didn't really know how to use a paintbrush. So we do stencils for the faces. Um, and we, I wanted the hat to sit on the back of the head. So the toy's like stackable, but I wanted the hat to like sit on the way back of the head. So we put these magnets in, like embedded underneath the head, and then put wood putty on top, and then the magnets connected. So the hat could still sit on top just through like physics and balancing, but you could also kind of like hook it onto the back so it was like tilted back the way that I wanted Scully to be wearing the hat. So I put together this like very technical schematic here, and and it worked. It worked out really well. Um, but this is the crazy thing. So I have a whole section on the case study around collaboration, and it's like, okay, so I got Jeff, co-captain of wood carving, Lucky House, MFG, screen printing the bags, Nick Fairbanks, stop motion, film collaborator, and Latham did some additional animation. So I'm always trying to credit people, as I should. This I will turn sound on for, and this is a stop motion film. So I ended up flying down to Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, where Nick lives, and he was like, let's just work on something fun. We'll just do something together. And the more and more we thought about it, the more he ended up just being like, dude, let's just do like something for the Scully project that you're working on. And he was like, let's do stop motion. And I was like, we don't know how to do stop motion. And he's like, well, I know how to take photos, and we're both decent animators. Let's just figure it out. So this is the first time we've ever done it. And I don't know if the sound will come through or not. Hopefully it does for you. But either way. Okay. Hopefully you heard that cute music. That was royalty free. Um, and hopefully you saw the animation as well. Hopefully you're awake and you're watching. Hopefully you're breathing. This was crazy. This was such a weird project. Like we had no idea what we were doing. Oh, okay. I see, Jack. We're not getting the audio. All right. Well, then I should have hummed through it, but it was like do 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 do. We'll fix audio next time. And I pulled open some of the projects stuff that we did for this thing, and I wanted to run through some of it because it's really crazy. This also, there's some cool stuff from the Rocket League project we can talk about later if we have time, but not totally relevant in the moment. So what Nick and I did was we took a bunch of photos. I think they're here on Dropbox, which is in Arc, and then here. So we painted. We thought we were real clever. I'll see if I have the raw photos. Let's see. We thought we were so clever. We painted everything with like a green, or put green tape around, or blue tape around everything. So here is the photo. I realize that I'm a little bit smaller inside of the window, so I'll try to zoom in for you a touch. But we got these C-clamps, and we got the pieces of the toy, and we animated frame by frame. And it would just be like Nick behind, or yeah, Nick was behind the camera, and I'm like standing there with the toy, and I'm like, all right. And he's like, well, last it jumped like from here to here, and he's like, so probably it should move like a couple inches up and to the right. And I'm like, all right, yeah, right. And I'm like, well, don't forget the squash and stretch. And we're just like, he's animating in camera effectively, and I'm animating by like vibes. And I think there's probably a better, I don't want to create a shortcut. I want to go to my assets, my raw images. Maybe, what's scene 5, let's see. Yeah. This will be fun to talk about for a few minutes. But we thought real clever. We ended up ditching that by scene 5, but in scene 1 and 2, I want to see the piano one, which I think might be scene 2. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, these are, I guess we already photoshopped. Oh, yeah. Here's the blue tape. So we put like blue masking tape. We're like, oh, it's going to be so clever. It's going to be like a green screen to be so much easier to separate. But it was spilling blue light all over it. And so it looked a mess. if you go like down here, like it was just spilling blue light all over. So we would have been much better off with just black. Little did we know, but we didn't know what we were doing. Um, but so this is like exactly how it went. Was basically we're taking photos. These are big raw photos, so they might take a second to load in between each. But basically, it's like from this photo. Um, I don't know which. Oh, this is 7. So then to 8, to 9, 10. It's just me like being like, all right, we should tilt this down a little bit, tilt it up, move it, slide it around, until we get to like the key bouncing. And then when that happens, we're like artificially holding down the keys and then doing a flip. And like we're like improvising flips at every chance that we get. I think the sequence was like strong enough to be able to hold the keys down. And then what we did was the next thing we'd do is we isolated every image. So we'd shoot a clean like plate, basically just the background without any of the character on it. And then we went through and masked out is there a way that I can see, what is this? Yeah, sure, this is great. We just masked out every single thing. And you could see now, and we would apply a little bit of motion blur. Like when things got faster, we would apply motion blur in Photoshop ever so slightly. And then what we'd have is like a PNG sequence of the animation, and we could nudge things around. And then we took that and comped it all in After Effects. And that's where we applied like squash and stretch in certain instances and areas where we needed to as well. This little boot is not the best example. Let's do one more. Let's see what scene 7's all about. Oh yeah, so this was the version where it had, the other tricky thing was we had to like capture the shadow data in each one. So as the character moved through, we were like keeping the shadow in it as well all the way through. And then at one point, I forget how we did this, we had like all 3 things coming together at once, and it was quite a fiasco. But in the end, you got to this little cute part. And so then we did that. And then the thing that I'm really excited about doing with Collabie overall is going back and forth, where it's not just a matter of like me making art and then kicking it over to an animator and him finishing it, but then getting it back. So we worked on it. Nick did a lot of the comping in After Effects. We both did a lot of the masking out. And then we got like a rough version of it working. And then from there, I thought it would be cool if we added some 2D effects on top of it just to bake it down that much more. And so I just went through frame by frame, straight ahead animation, again, not really knowing what I'm doing, with just like a fat marker brush in Photoshop, and just intuitively sort of animated sparks and splashes and poofs wherever I thought it would work. And that's like the squash and stretch that we're applying in Photoshop, because obviously you can't squish wood around. But yeah, and then like coming up with this idea, like same thing with like this like focus rack or whatever. We're just doing that all in After Effects. And then, yeah, just following intuitively this idea that like, oh yeah, what if we have this like little like, this is like from Metal Gear Solid style, as a jump and the flame. So a really rough, bad version of it first, all the way through, all the way until the end, all the way through. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of drawings. And then I've got another version that I just cleaned it up a little bit better and just did a better job of it and just traced over it, and my layers would just look like this. And again, this is just Photoshop, where I'm just going frame by frame and animating on top of it. And then I think we put some textures and filters on top of it to kind of bake it all in together. But this was really nice because Nick was really impressed. I felt a little bit guilty because he was doing so much of the animation work and I felt like a little bit of a hack. And so then to be able to like add a little bit more, and he was just so happy about it and excited, it felt like a true collaboration. And then we worked with my friend Jeff to do the sound design, and we did a lot of the Foley work where we were just like slapping fruit against each other to get all of the cute little noises that you can hear later if you watch it. But that was sort of that, like just going back and forth over and over and over again. I have a couple other cool pictures I want to try to see if I can find of it. Stop behind the scenes that I made of just these like really, there's some like explosion shots too. Yeah, that we've made. So this was me, like this is like a you know, seeing time in a fourth dimension, obviously, but you can see like just blowing out all of these things of Nick being behind the camera and being like, yeah, man, I think you should like slide forward and then backward. I'm like, yeah, all right, cool. And then for the parts where it would like jump and spin, I just had this little wire and I would just be like, all right, here we go. Are you ready? Just take a bunch of photos. I'm going to like do a 360 with the thing and like making sure it's getting an arc and stuff. And we would do it. We didn't do it that many times. It kind of just like worked itself out. Again, because in Illustrator or in Photoshop and in After Effects, we could just like nudge and make the arc a little bit more smooth if we needed to. So it really was like a pretty cool, like good use of all the tools that otherwise there's no way we would have been able to do. I think there's another one. These are the plates, the backgrounds just on their own. And then these are some of like the masking out that we did. So this is like a bashing of every frame of the artwork. Same here. It's like this was basically the armature running down throughout the whole thing. The plate for the fruit just by itself. And then the fruit scene in 4 dimensions. Very fun. Same thing here. The other thing we were doing is like boiling. It would be like, we'd have like this sawdust that we'd want to like shake and then have the character jump out of it. And so I would just like go over and poke the sawdust a couple times and we'd be like, all right, take another photo. And then like poke it a couple more times, then take another photo. And we're like, oh yeah, we're doing boiling. We're boiling it. That's what it looks like. So this was a really special project. And I think maybe now that I've talked about it, I'll just run back through the animation one more time to show. And then at that point, I want to talk about the future of Collabie and who we're going to collaborate with next and stuff like that. So let's see, where are we? Yeah, so this one. So here we are back here. One more time. It's short. Keep forgetting that you're not hearing it, so I guess I can kind of like sing for you over it or whatever. We also had this idea that, like, I guess I'm all about like being late, but the idea again was like that the character was late for a photo shoot, and so all of the pieces were like off doing their own thing, and then they had to like run back and get there in time with the photo shoot, and they just like made it just barely in the nick of time. Similar to that Rocket League project where the car was late for school. I guess that's just what I do. It's just like I'm always late, so I suppose it's coming through the work. So there's that. So that was like my master like collaboration of all time so far, until this project and this show. And if we go back here where we were, what's next for the future episodes? So we talked about all the different ways that you can collaborate. It's just like having friends, talking to friends, doing things with friends. And that's kind of how I designed my whole business of like, I don't want to work by myself. I'm scared to be alone. How can I work on things with friends? And so at almost every turn that I get a project, I try to bring a friend in and hire them in some capacity because it's just more fun. Like working alone is boring. Working with friends is fun. If you can afford to pay them, great. There's many times where I couldn't, so I didn't, and that was fine too. And that's that. So future episodes. I'm really excited for the lineup that I have for the next 3 episodes where we're going to be collaborating with friends and making things. And I haven't worked with any of these people yet so far. And so I'm super excited to see what we come up with. So I think the next one in 2 weeks is going to be with Meg Lewis. And if you don't know Meg, they are I think they went to clown school. They're so brilliant. And I took their sort of course. I did this drawing of them, so if you don't love the photo of them, it's my fault. But they're a beautiful being, and they're like on-screen talent. They've done all sorts of really cool stuff. They did this project called Full-Time You, which is like a workshop book that I took, and I loved it, and it helped me really understand who I am as a creative. and they're an incredible illustrator as well, and just like brand identity person. They're super good with type and really good with like being charming and funny and having a voice. And I love that about them. And I'm very excited to see what we do together. We have a call tomorrow or Friday sometime. Um, Sorry, Meg, not stress you out. But I think on Friday we're going to talk and sort of brainstorm what we could do. I have a feeling we're going to incorporate a lot of fun, wacky jokes and type together with some of my character stuff. Um, we finally got to meet at Adobe Max a couple months ago. That was really great. It really concreted the friendship, in my opinion. I hope that Meg feels the same way. You can check out their work. It's your buddy Meg on Instagram. Very, very, very smart. Really great. Really clever. And super enthused to work on this, which is like very cool. And yeah, and Meg's been on Adobe Live in the past too. I think maybe everybody is alumni of Adobe that I've got. So look forward to that. I think we're going to schedule that for the next one. I have no idea what we're going to make together, but I know that once we come together for the live stream, it's going to be a lot of laughs and we're going to have a fun time just like talking about whatever it is that we figured out. And then we're going to work live doing it too. So again, if anyone's just tuning in, like next time, it's going to be two of us. We're both going to be chatting about the project that we work on together, and it's going to be fun. The next is going to be Imani LaRussa, who I wrote wow. I met Imani about a year ago. They were doing a project called Jumpstart Design, which was mentoring young kids in art. And wow, she did a really great job. Like, very impressive person. They do visual effects, also very much in the Adobe world. And yeah, she said yes as well. And I can't believe it because she's a heavy hitter just like Meg is and just like Katya is. But I'm excited for this one because their work is so different from mine, like incorporating visual effects and motion tracking and things like that into my silly, goofy, flat characters. I think is going to be kind of cool, kind of neat. We haven't had our call yet. I have to schedule that call, but I'm very intrigued how that's going to work. Another incredibly good on-screen talent. I met them at Adobe Max as well, and I I hung out with her for a couple of hours. And I've never been around like a famous person, but every single time I like took a step to the left, someone was like, "Hey, can I get a photo with you?" Of Imani, not me. And then I would like hold Imani's like trash basically or whatever she needed, and then she would take a photo, and then another second would go by and she'd be like, "Can I take a photo of you?" Because they spoke at Adobe Max, and very inspiring and really just a cool story. So yeah, intrigued how that one's gonna work. Also, she did Super Bowl graphics, which is wild. And then the third, I think, I'm not sure which order it's going to go in, but Katya, who actually co-streamed with me a couple of weeks ago on Adobe Live. We did like a Christmas stream, and she was such a great host. And you may know her as Tiny Hat Party. Hopefully I have that right. It's not Tiny Hat Party. Maybe Jack can double check for me. But yeah, so much charm. Met them on Adobe Live, and really ready to just do some goofy character-based animation together with that. She does these like really funny, very often viral, like songs with animals, and they're always a hit. And that's not luck. She's got social media figured out because her work is so damn good. She's often touted around Adobe as one of the kindest people ever. I have not had that be disproven to me. But yeah, I just want to give all of these artists, their flowers, and can't wait to see what we do together. Know that all of the on-screen talent is going to be there too. I know that we get along really well, and the art is really good. So yeah, somehow, basically, I'm going to find a way to collaborate with each of these artists, come together, and have fun on stream with you all. I've got a couple minutes left that I do still have extra things that I can show, but with this being my first stream, I probably spoke a little bit quicker than I need to. But I think we hit all of our points. I won't re-summarize them again because you can watch the video over again if you wanted to. But I think for 5 minutes, I do want to pull up this project because I do think it was kind of neat. Latham was it was another cool collaborative thing, and this is kind of an awkward transition back in time here, but time's not real. So Latham was often like asking for certain pieces of the car to be drawn that he could rig, and we just have this like joysticks and sliders that I thought was really fun of him just telling me how to draw the car at all these different angles, and I just had the car pulled up and thought it'd be fun just to see in After Effects of these. Like, I think we got the full flip. No, I think we ended up not doing any full flip. There's a point where, what do we have? Pardon me for a moment while I go back to the project. I thought this was a clever little thing I wanted to make sure I said. There's a flip somewhere here. Is it here? Yeah. This little, like, call it a 360 flip from skateboarding, but I'm going to try to zoom in on it if I can find it. I just zoomed. Yeah. The car never goes upside down fully, and we never actually like drew every angle of the car. Latham just like took the car and like half flipped it and then like mirrored it and then flipped it the opposite direction, and it really worked out pretty perfectly. It feels like a really cool lobby, I guess like a switch 360 flip on a skateboard or whatever, but it just has perfect rhythm and really great. And I just love that like we cheated it. So much of what we do together is just cheating things because the way that my brain is able to draw things or not draw things. So I thought it would be fun just to see some of these like rigs that we built. Where's the one that is properly animated? My poor computer's dying here. Yeah. Just having this like was enough for us to be able to make all the flips between this and then these. And then just like by like flipping and rotating and mixing and mashing, we kind of got everything we needed to get out of it. So that was the only thing that I forgot to cover. Otherwise, I think that's all I have to do. Oh, I have questions. Do you have advice on how to reach out to someone that you want to collaborate? I'm going to switch to my face for a mo. Thanks for questions, Josh. Do you have advice on how do you want to reach out to somebody that you want to collaborate with that you're not really already friends with? Yeah, I think what the main thing with collaborating with somebody, if maybe you're feeling a little more nervous, is like offer them something. And it's certainly not always money, but you're just offering them that like, hey, do you have any work with Latham? He said, hey, can I take the thing you already made and animate it? You don't have to do any extra work. Just like you've done the work, just, I'll take care of everything and I'll surprise you. I think that's a really great way to do it, is basically just to not make them do any extra work. Find a way where you can, if you're a sound designer, for instance, or if you're a musician or something, like take a piece they already did, add sound to it, ask them that permission would be great. Obviously, you can also reach out and like see if they want to make something new, but I think just like starting with giving them little work to do is going to be a no-brainer. They're going to say yes to it. Because if anybody reaches out to me like, hey, can I animate something of yours that you've already done? Like, of course you can. I don't care. Like, sure. Best case, it's amazing. Worst case, it's not that great and I didn't put any time into it. So yeah, I would say that's the way to do it, is to like approach it where you're not trying to take any time away from them, because some people are really busy. And I think it's always good to like collaborate in an upward motion. Obviously, you can't just go to like, hi, Michael Jordan, I want to collaborate with you, or whoever the biggest person is. But I think like, and it gets like, call it punching up or whatever, but collaborate with somebody that is better than you. And then it forces you, because you're nervous that you're going to waste their time. So you like force yourself to like get up to their level and make sure that you impress them really well. Yeah, if there's any other questions, drop them in. Otherwise, I'll waste time for a minute or two and then finish the stream. And I think there's more things coming up on Adobe Live still, so watch those. I've got a cute little outro card that I'll go to for a minute where it meets my mic. But yeah, in 2 weeks, there's going to be an episode with Meg Lewis and we're going to collaborate together live on the stream, and we're going to figure things out. You're welcome, Josh. And yeah, it's going to be a lot more dynamic. And I'm not apologizing too much for this one, but um, it'll be nice to have somebody alongside with me where I won't be sweating quite as much. But I'm really happy to have done this. I really appreciate people sticking around. It looks like the retention was actually pretty decent, where there was a couple hundred people watching, which is very, 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 very grateful. You can reach out to me on Instagram or through my email if you have any questions. If you want to collaborate on something, like I'm super down. Like my time is a little tight right now, but there are many ways that I'm super happy to collaborate with people, and I would love to do that. So if you have any ideas, reach out to me on Instagram or through my email. That's part of the goal of this project, is to like put myself out there to be able to collaborate with people as well. So keep doing that. Um, and Also, I have my own YouTube video that I'm going to try to release tomorrow. So I think I'm just like Bonehouse on YouTube, and I'm going to do that. And it's a cute little video of me drawing Doug. So um, yeah, you'll find it somehow. I'll bother you on the internet. Follow me on Instagram if you want. Reach out to me as you need. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here. In 2 weeks, Meg and I will be making Goofy Things live on stream, and that's Collabie. And I'm going to click first, I'm going to click my outro button, and then I'm going to click my finish button. And thank you, love you. Okay, bye.